You're listening to the Dre Area Sports Show, live on YouTube and X. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
But the biggest news, I think, is, of course, the news of Bryce Huff. Now, Bryce Huff was acquired last week, towards the end of the week, via trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought this was a phenomenal trade. We learned today that he will rock number 47 like he did in New York and not number 0 like he did in Philly. This, to me, is a fantastic move because this gives the Niners so much more flexibility on the defensive line. It allows you to not only have a third down pass rusher that you can bring in the game, but it takes pressure off of Micah Williams to kind of do his own thing and mature into his role. Because, I mean, look, if you don't get Bryce Huff, then every third down, you're like, Michael, you got to get pressure on the quarterback, and so now that takes that pressure off of him, and you can go with a real NASCAR package that features, Bryce Huff, Micah Williams, Alfred Collins, and Nick Bosa. I mean, that's huge. So, Raj, let me ask you, what's your take on the acquisition of Bryce Huff?
Yeah, I was hyped up, just like you said. It's going to take pressure off of everybody on that D-line, especially Micah Williams. He's the rookie. He's the edge setter. He's the guy that's going to come in, stuff the run. Eventually, he can become a good pass rusher. But I love this because if you look at this roster that the 49ers have, you look at it, you're like, okay, you got Nick Bosa, and who else is going to rush the quarterback? Well, I know Gross Matos is there, but he missed a handful of games last year. Sam, I like him, but you don't think of him as like a premium pass rusher. He's got a good rotation guy. Now you have a guy that's coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He played terrible last year with the Eagles. He knows it, but it was a scheme kind of fit issue. A lot of people have said it. Brandon Graham, Chris Kasurk has noted it. And now you have a guy that's going to go out there, play with a chip on his shoulder. The best football he's ever played was with the Jets with Robert Saleh. And guess what? The 49ers brought him back this year. So I think it's going to be a good reunion. I think he's going to be hyped up. Sometimes that change of scenery is what players need. And you know what? If he wants to get paid, he's got to go out there and produce. So I like it. And getting that 47 back, it's like he's going back to his old self. I think it's
exactly
going back to my old self. Let's go. Bosa's hyped up. Bosa today in his press conference like, hey, I looked at his film back when he was with the Jets to kind of study pass rush technique. This guy's a good pass rusher, but with the Eagles, they have high expectations, and I think the Niners do too. But they needed some depth because outside of, like I said, Sam, look at Robert Beal. The guy has been a bust. Drake Jackson, he's cut because he couldn't stay healthy. So
gone. Yep.
Huge get for the 49ers, and it really didn't cost them much. So I liked it.
It really didn't. And when we look at this post from Spotrac, this kind of breaks down the trade in terms of how much the Niners are actually taking on in terms of his contract. The Niners acquire Bryce Huff in 2025. They're going to be paying him $7.95 million in 2026. 17.1. Now that could be changed as well based on if they renegotiate and kind of change the contract, or if he sucks, he won't even be here next season. So it's no harm coming to the 49ers. On the other end, the Eagles do get a 2026 fifth-round pick, which a lot of people were kind of playing it up like, oh, why are they hiding the pick? It wasn't announced yet. And really, if you're giving up a fifth-round pick, or even which could be a fourth-round pick for Bryce Huff, I think that's worth that trade to get a player like him. And Philly takes on dead cap hits of $4.93 million and $16.61 million. And after reading this, a lot of Eagles fans were like, oh, we fleeced them. They got this bum player. But no, here's the thing. He was not a fit in the Vic Fangio system. We know that he's better in the wide nine. He had more success under Robert Saleh. So this was a win-win for both teams. The Eagles were looking to move him. Even back during the draft, they wanted to move him. But they had a higher asking price. So what did San Francisco do? They waited. They waited for that price to come down, and they were able to make the move and bring this guy to San Francisco back under Robert Saleh and have him work with Chris Kasurk. I think this is a phenomenal trade. It deepens our defensive line. It makes our pass rush so much better having this guy out there, especially on third down.
Yeah, 100%. You nailed it all the points you said, 100%. And that's the thing. It was a low-risk kind of situation for 49ers. We've been screaming since last year, go get Bosa some help. They did it. I don't know how you could complain. And, yeah, if it becomes a fourth-round pick for the Eagles, that means he did good for the 49ers. So either way, it's a good deal for both teams, right? The Eagles want to get a fourth-round pick. If they do, that means he probably played really damn well for the 49ers, which is what we want him to do. If they get a 5th-round pick and he doesn't play that good, like you said, he's going to get cut anyways next year. So I think he's going to play good because, again, he's back with Robert. He's motivated. I think he wants to prove that last year with the Eagles was not his best self, and I think the Fangio situation is 100%. A lot of people have noted that, but I really feel that sometimes you need to step away from one place, and maybe mentally he got a big contract last year and it was like getting to him, and maybe he's all right, I'll go back to the Niners here, prove myself. And again, at the end of the day, the Niners needed depth because that was a huge issue last year with all over the team. I know they had Leonard Floyd, but he just didn't look like that kind of guy. They were paying him, $10 million? So I feel like they needed to upgrade. And Bryce Huff, 27 years old. So I think the other part of this is the 49ers said it earlier in the offseason. They're trying to get younger, and this kind of fits their MO. 27, that's like the prime of a guy's career. I think this is a great get for the 49ers overall. They just needed depth. And the 49ers really looked into defense during the draft. So it looks like a real big roster overhaul, especially on that D-line, which was paltry last year. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't get to the quarter. They couldn't do anything right. So,
they couldn't do anything right.
They really revamped that entire defensive line. If you're not excited about the prospects of the season as a Niner fan, I don't know what to tell you.
Well, and one of the questions that was posed to me over the week was that who would you rather have? Would you rather have Bryce Huff or would you rather have Leonard Floyd? And if you ask me, I'd rather have Bryce Huff. I think that he's more of that speed rusher that you need. I felt that Leonard Floyd, though he had a good year, I think he ended the season with 10 sacks. Or was it 8.5 sacks?
It was 8.5, I think.
Yeah. He didn't have that bull rush speed that Bryce Huff has. He kind of did that, he'd rush in, stop, and cut back inside. And he was, I think that he's a better player if you surround him with a lot of talent. So, like, for instance, if he was on this team right now with Bryce Huff, with Micah Williams, then gravy. You're like, hey, I love it. Gives us a different look and more options. But it's crazy how they got rid of him and he immediately went to Atlanta for $10 million. And then they went and traded and picked up James Pierce Jr., who's like a carbon copy of Leonard Floyd, long, lanky, and rely on their speed. So, man, I would rather have Bryce Huff. Who would you rather have, Leonard Floyd or Bryce Huff?
I mean, I think I'd like Bryce Huff again because he's played with Saleh before. I feel like he's going to kind of get back to his old self. But not to say I was definitely excited to see Leonard Floyd on the team before, but you make a good point because he played really well with the Rams. They had Aaron Donald on that team. I mean, he's probably one of the best of all time. So I feel like he wasn't like that elite power rusher that we expected coming out of free agency. Like I thought he was going to come in and just be this monster, which he was okay. But early in the season, it took us some time to get his feet wet and kind of get down with the system that the 49ers run. And then when Bosa came down, he did kind of step up a little bit, have a better second half of the season. But overall, I don't think he was worth the $10 million that the 49ers gave him last year. So no. I think that was a cost that they needed to cut. And I think Bryce Huff, again, Niners are, like you said, that you showed the stats, paying him about $7 to $8 million. Philadelphia has to pay some of that themselves. So it's not like the Niners are paying all of that contract. So I feel like they save money. They get a guy that has a higher potential, who's younger, who can probably get more sacks on third down. And that's what it is. If they can stop the run on the first two downs, you got Micah Williams, you got CJ West, you got Alfred Collins, you have all these big guys. You get it to 3rd and 8, you go and put Bryce Huff and Nick Bosa, line them up. I'd be pretty scared if I was a quarterback going up against
them. Yeah, absolutely. And then when you look at like the what could be like their NASCAR package, when we're talking about Huff, Williams, Collins, and Nick Bosa, this is one of the things I was talking about earlier today on the Dre Area Sports Show with Drew and Dre. We do that every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. When you look at the dimensions of the defensive linemen that are on that, let's say NASCAR package, it reminds me a lot of Dee Ford, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, Nick Bosa. You got these big, tall, long guys in Collins and Williams, and you got these two speed rushers on the edges with Huff and Bosa, like you had with Dee Ford and Bosa. So I think the potential is there for this defensive line to be as dominant as they were in 2019. Now, granted, a lot of that defensive line had played together for a number of years, so they had a good familiarity with each other. Probably one of the biggest mistakes they ever made was getting rid of DeForest Buckner. I don't know why they did that. But when you look at these stats, this is something else that I want to show you. When you look at the stats that we'll put up today by Next Gen Stats, this is the highest quarterback pressure rates since 2022. So this actually includes last season. Bryce Huff is still number 2 in the league, right behind Micah Parsons for the highest QB pressures in the league. This is cumulative. This is not just the year 2022. This is since 2022. And he's ahead of Trey Hendrickson and Myles Garrett.
That's
I mean,
insane.
to me, this says everything. Like, man, this is how good this guy can truly be. I mean, when you read stats like this, Raj, I mean, what do you think about these kind of numbers?
Yeah, even in a bad year last year, he's still among the best at generating pressures. And that tells you he is a pure pass rush specialist. Like, he might be a one-trick pony, but that one trick he does is phenomenal. And yeah, like I said, Leonard Floyd last year, he was a cleanup kind of guy specialist. And I think also with Matos last year, they kind of had to move him around in places that he didn't really fit on that line. But I think now if they can stay healthy, which they addressed that D-line this offseason, like I said, in the draft, if this man could just sit there, stay on those third down pass rush, and be that guy, this man's going to sit there and probably better than a 19.9 because now he's healthy, play with the chip on his shoulder, like we said. This man's going to flat out just fly to the quarterback. And, a lot of people have mentioned it. I think a lot of people have thrown the comparison out there. I've seen it on Twitter, whatever, all the social media sites. They're saying, hey, he looks like D Ford. And as long as he's not the injured D Ford, I think that's huge. You make a good point. That 2019 defensive line was outstanding. If they would have all stayed healthy together, I mean, holy smokes. Because D Ford, when he was in, it was scary. Him and Bosa were just flying to the quarterbacks. And that's exactly what I envisioned. And I think that's what Robert envisions. He knows what this guy can do. He's coached him before. His best season was with our new defensive coordinator. So absolutely love the stat. Again, he's basically 19.9, 20.0, literally the same with Parsons. And that was a bad season for Huff. So that tells me this man can flat out get to the quarterback and get pressure. And you know what? The more pressures you start, racking up, you're probably going to get sacks. And even if you don't get the sack and you're generating those pressures, quarterbacks are going to be uncomfortable. They're going to make bad plays. That's what we need. We need to force turnovers. Last year, I feel like I don't even remember. See, the only turnover I really remember last year was the Fred Warner pick six. And I think like Diamond Lenore got an interception, maybe.
Yeah, he did.
And like a block punt. That was literally all.
Yeah, the block punt. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
That's it. And the Fred Warner pick six that led to his injury. That's when he hurt himself. It was like it was bittersweet. You're like, oh no, just go down next time. Fuck. But looking at these numbers, man, I mean, look, if you had Micah Parsons or you had Trey Hendrickson or Myles Garrett on this team, you would say, dude, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Any one of those three, you'd say, dude, not unstoppable. These guys are going to dominate. So if you get Bryce Huff, who's right there with those guys, to me, this tells you, hey, look, this guy's going to make a huge difference for San Francisco.
I agree. Yeah. It's amazing. Amazing.
And then we had some video footage because, yesterday that's when the coaches addressed the media. And this is what Coach Kasarik had to say about Bryce Huff. And let's listen to him right here.
Chris, what do you see about as far as the evolution of Huff? He came into the league.
Who's that guy talking?
He didn't produce a lot early. He's produced a lot over the last 3 years for the most part, if you look at the pressure rates.
Yeah, just a self-made man in the NFL. Anytime an undrafted rookie, works and grinds his way through and then, makes the team and then becomes a productive player within a scheme and then becomes a double-digit type sacker in the NFL. It's a self-made man. There's a lot of hard work behind the scenes that goes into it because, undrafted guys are a little bit behind the eight ball from the start, just as far as just making the team and then to really excel within a role and then to really truly carve out a role and become one of the, the top players as far as some of the get-off metrics and some of the pressure metrics. And then, his last year there with the Jets, the sack production followed it all. He's a self-made man. It's a lot of hard work that went in behind the scenes to get to that point.
So a lot of good things he said there about Bryce Huff, and he did talk about last season as well. Now we know that Bryce Huff was dealing with a number of injuries last season. He only played in 7 games, had 2.5 sacks. He had a wrist injury he was dealing with. And in fact, it's funny in that next gen stats picture, he was wearing a brace on his on his right hand. I was like, oh, there it is. So a lot of things were slowing him down. I mean, the guy unfortunately was a non-suited player for the Super Bowl, but they were deep. I mean, that was a deep defensive line.
They didn't need him. They didn't
need him. I mean, hey, I bet you and I could have suited up. They still would have won that game.
You probably.
They were just running through. Dude, they ran through that O line like diarrhea, dude. They were just like, get out of the way, come here. It was great.
Crazy, man. I hate the Eagles, but yeah,
I hate the Eagles too. But here's the thing too, though, and this is kind of a side note that I've always noticed is that every time the Niners lose to the Chiefs, the following year, the Chiefs get back there and get their ass kicked. But both times when they lost to the Buccaneers and to the Eagles, I thought that that's how the game was going to go for the Niners. I was like, wait, why didn't we have this game? What the hell? Like, especially the Buccaneers game, I was like, dude, I thought that our defensive line was just going to tear them apart. Yeah. But it just didn't happen. I don't know. I can't really explain that. And I don't really... It's a tough thing to even focus on at this point.
The Dre Area Sports Show is brought to you by SeatGeek. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to save $20 on your first purchase at SeatGeek.com. And we are also brought to you by Taryn Roy, the SEO Optimizer. If you're looking to boost your YouTube channel, then check out the SEO Optimizer. Use promo code Dre Area Sports to start your free trial today. Power Brand Systems. If you're looking to build a website for your small business or YouTube channel, then check out Power Brand Systems. Use promo code 300POWER to save up to $300 on your first purchase at Power Brand Systems.